The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Whether she's walking the red carpet or doing interviews, you'll find her with celebrities and all the latest news. She's here, she's there, she's everywhere, she's always on the go. So sit back, relax, and get ready. This is the Corey Taylor Talks Show.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks, live from Las Vegas, the #1 teen talk show. I am beyond excited about my guest today. He is so incredible, and he has some really amazing things coming up, including just a phenomenal book about a phenomenal woman. And it's truly such an honor to have him on. So I have the one and only Geoffrey Mark with me. So hi, Geoffrey, how are you?
Good evening, worldwide friends.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey, for being on. I mean, truly, it is just an absolute honor. You are so amazing, and what you're doing is fantastic.
You flatter me. Keep doing it.
I will. There's so much to flatter, because you, like I said, you are so decorated. You're Emmy Award winning. You're Grammy nominated, which I think in itself should tell everyone right there enough about you. But not only that, not only do you have your own stuff going on, you're also an author, and you have this really, like I said, just phenomenal book about just an incredible woman, and it's just coming out. So why don't you tell people a little bit about it and about Ella, because, I mean, really, I am so excited about it.
Well, thank you. Ella, I think, is one of those rare people from her time that is known across the board. Older folks love her, and when young people hear her, they fall in love with her.
Yeah.
Ella has a 7-decade career, starting in the mid-1930s as a teenager, as a big band singer, and going up to the early 1990s as an elderly woman who was still able to make her audiences happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, not only because especially even nowadays, but especially for her time, to be a woman of color in that time and be so successful and do so much for the community and stuff. I mean, that really is phenomenal. Not only was she incredibly talented, but it seems like she was beautiful inside and out.
Well, and let's break down what you just said into two separate things, because they're not a one-thing deal, and especially the young women who are listening to us tonight.
Yeah.
It wasn't only that Ella was African American. That was its own difficulty back then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much things have gotten better.
I
know they have gotten better, but they're still difficult. But she was a woman, and a very young woman, literally 16 when she started performing, in a completely male-dominated, brand-new thing in show business. The recording industry was not very old. The radio industry was not very old. Completely controlled by men.
Yeah.
And men who were not African American. And here was this youngster who came from an unhappy home, who had been through physical, emotional, mental, and sexual abuse, and literally living on the streets before she became famous. And yet, somehow, despite that beginning, despite what society then saw as negatives, the society was wrong, but they saw it as negatives. Despite all of that, Ella prevailed and became a million-selling recording artist, made several films, although she was never a movie star, was all over radio, all over television, and since this is a worldwide broadcast, worldwide. Ella is even more famous in Japan, in Europe, in South America than she is in the United States and Canada.
Wow.
There's something about her talent, her ability to sing from the heart. And this is interesting. There have been through the years, lots of wonderful singers who sang from the heart, who could make you cry, who could make you laugh, including many of today's young women who are wonderful. But someone said this to me, and it makes a lot of sense. A lot of these women, you feel their heartbreak when they sing. When Ella sang, she made you feel your heartbreak. And maybe that's why she lasted so long, because she sang it in a way that you felt it personally. You didn't feel her. I don't know if that makes sense to our listeners out there. But Ella went through big band. She went through being a solo singer to being a pop recording artist, going into jazz, and then she becomes a legend after a while. And the legend continued to grow until the day she stopped performing because of illness and age. But she knocked down every barrier, every door, and yet she was a very shy woman who did not have a big personal life. Her life was about her music, her performance, and pleasing you guys out there who are listening.
No, definitely. And, I did want to bring that up because you could tell she, exactly like you said, she was really passionate about it, and you could feel it. And I completely agree. She makes you feel your own heartache and stuff, not just hers. And that's a very rare thing. And she was incredibly gifted, and the way she shared it with the world. And like you said, being a person of color, let alone a woman of color, like you said, it's very difficult now. We're even today, literally, we are seeing so many struggles from the communities, and so for her time especially, she helped so much, and she broke so many barriers and opened so many doors, and really showed that everyone's just human beings and they deserve to be respected, because she was so phenomenal. And I really think, and even though, like we said, there's still struggles, I really think she helped a lot and made the world move a little more forward, which is really very impressive.
We could probably spend the entire hour just listing, I should say, the names of African American, and we should probably add Latino and Asian, because she broke doors down for everybody.
Right.
Performers who have come since her, that she took the hard knocks so they didn't have to.
Exactly.
And she also, for those of you who don't know a whole lot of history out there, was a quiet but staunch supporter and contributor to Dr. Martin Luther King. She was there when she could be for marches. She was always there financially. When Dr. King died, she wrote a special song called It's Up to You and Me to carry on his work, because Ella was also a songwriter of note, a lyricist, I should say. And she personally funded, because I'm going to assume, Corey, because you're a young woman, that you have young listeners out there. She personally funded a center in Watts in Los Angeles for children. When I say personally, I mean nobody else's money was involved. She did this. And since her death, there is the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, which helps the working poor, which was very, very dear to Ella's heart, because that's the kind of background from which she came. Yeah. And she made sure that the incredible amount of money she earned during her lifetime would take her charity beyond her own lifetime. And it today is still helping people. In fact, I'm going to be singing all around the country promoting the book, and I'm singing Ella songs to her original arrangements. And everywhere we're going, we're doing benefits for the foundation. So her legacy for African Americans, for young people, for children is still going on. And then there's all the music we get to listen to.
Yeah. And like you said, I do want to talk about the foundation as well, because I also believe the profits from the deluxe edition of your book will be donated to the Ella Fitzgerald charity as well. Am I correct?
Yes. How can I write a book about Ella and do the decades of research that went into it and talk so much about her music. I mean, kids, we cover every song, every album, and maybe that doesn't sound a lot to you, but we're talking from 1935 to 1990. That's a lot of songs. She is the most recorded singer in history, plus her private life. How can I do all of that? How can I respect the woman and her work and what she stood for and not help her legacy with charity go forward as well? So yes, I am very involved with the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation. You can find them online if you want to contribute to them. They'll be very happy to take your contributions. A portion of the proceeds from the deluxe edition, and we should talk about the deluxe edition because I am so excited about it.
Absolutely.
The reason it's called the deluxe edition is I had done a show in April at the Grammy Museum in Los Angeles with the great Patty Austin, and we did a show about Ella's 100th birthday because this is her centennial year. And I ran into a publicist for Universal Music. Now, the name may not mean much to you listening out there, but all you need to know is that somehow, through some magic in the world, all of Ella's major recording labels, and there's 4 of them, are now all owned or distributed by this one company. So I said, gee, wouldn't it be great if we could put some of the music in the book and let people hear what I'm talking about? And it took some negotiation. This wasn't necessarily an easy road, but it turned out well. It's a happy ending. And we have one disc that's all studio work and one disc that's all live cuts. And this is the best, well, what I think is her best. And when I say her best, we could have put 20 CDs in and not covered her best. So this is the best we could fit onto one CD. One is a CD of studio work. One is a CD of live performances with big bands, small groups, just one instrument, and they are sequenced, I believe, just exactly the way Ella would have chosen them to be. So for those of you who buy the deluxe edition, you not only get a 450-page book that has over 250 photos in it, but you also get the music too. And you'd be amazed. The book is not quite out yet. It comes out March 1st, and we're having to catch up with the orders to make the CDs. So I'm very pleased that the people out there who love her music are buying it.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring that up too because unfortunately, when a lot of people write biographies or anything, it's either against the artist or against the family's wishes or any stuff. But her family really was for this in her estate, and they were really supportive of this. And I think that just shows how much you really did honor her and have the respect for her. And not a lot of people and authors can say that when they write biographies. So that really does just show how fantastic this book is.
Well, thank you, Corey. I appreciate that. You know, it depends on the author. If someone is writing a book, let's say someone's writing a book about Corey Taylor, and I'm sure someday somebody will. Maybe you will. But let's say it's not you. It's somebody else writing a book about Corey Taylor. They have one of two choices. They've either observed your career once you become an old lady, like 100 years from now, and they go, well, this is what Corey said, and this is what Corey did, and I think she's fill in the blank. And they walk in with a preconceived notion. Yeah. That's one kind of biography. So everything they write to prove their theory is correct. Or you walk in saying, Corey Taylor is a real talent. Let me do some research and find out what she was about and draw my conclusions from the research. That's what I did. And in my writing, is it true? Am I being respectful and loving? Does it need to be said? And I made sure that everything in the book is true, to the best of my knowledge, meaning I had 2 or 3 sources agree that this was the truth. It is respectful and loving. I tell Ella's story, warts and all, but I don't make drama out of it. I don't exaggerate it. I didn't write this so that the National Enquirer would put me on the front page. Right. although the National Examiner chose the book as their book of the month this month from all the books being published. So like you said, I hope I did something right. And I don't exploit Ella. This is the truth. This is how it was. She's important because of her music, but let me tell you what was going on when she wasn't singing. And because I'm being truthful and honest and loving and respectful, but completely transparent, you're seeing all of it. I think maybe that's why the Foundation thinks it's a good book. I hope they do. I assume they do. And the reviews we're getting are wonderful. And I also must mention, although you didn't ask, I must because I forget to sometime. My publisher's name is Mies Hora. Mies is a genius graphic designer. And he has designed a book like I have never seen, so that every page is gorgeous. The cover and back cover are gorgeous. Even I look gorgeous in this book. And we have a whole section of photos up front, a whole photo essay of Ella's life, even before you get to my prose. 50 pages of it.
Wow.
And then there's photos and posters and album covers and sheet music, all interspersed throughout the book, so that nobody ever gets a chance to, not with my writing, that anyone would get bored, but nobody visually gets bored. Nobody gets visually tired. There's always something for the eye. And I'm so proud of what he's done with my writing, and together we've really made an excellent product.
Oh, definitely. And, I did, you mentioned a little bit about the reviews. I wanted to read just a couple of the reviews because really, it just got absolutely amazing feedback. And if that's all right with you, I'd love to read a few of them.
Oh, you're going to flatter me some more? Please,
I am,
please
of course. I have to. It's kind of impossible not to because you got so much to flatter. But, okay, so let's start with James Gavin, who is an award-winning author himself. He said, finally, Ella Fitzgerald has gotten the biography that she deserves. In Geoffrey Mark's empathetic but clearly-eyed portrait, both the vocal legend and woman are brought vividly and insightfully and movingly to life, which I think right there should tell everyone everything. That's a glowing review. Then we got Randy West, who is, of course, a jazz radio show host and a legendary TV announcer. He said, nobody has ever captured the amazing life and exemplary career of the premier chanteuse as well as Mr. Mark and has in his book. This is an authoritic, I can't read. I'm sorry, I'm kind of blind today. Anyways, will remain the last, and that will remain the last word on Ella Fitzgerald.
I think the word you were stumbling over, not that I have this memorized, mind you, is authoritative compendium.
That's right, compendium, that's right. Yes. It's a hard word, and I'm blind, so
That's okay.
It's a double whammy today. And this Only in America story, which I do want to bring up too, she came from a very tough background, and she made it through, which is phenomenal, and became such a huge success. But this Only in America story is told with accuracy and great regard by Mr. Mark. His research and writing styles make the definitive tone of the First Lady of Song. This book would have made Ella proud, and that's by Don Wardell, who is a Grammy Award winner and a great American songbook radio host at 107.3. So, really all glowing reviews, and I think that should just tell you everything. And they know about the industry as well, and I'm sure they are huge fans of Ella, as I'm sure everyone is. So that right there, that just shows, and those are just a few of the tons and tons and tons of reviews. So, really, kudos to you, because that is just fantastic.
Yes, and I'm stumbling for words only because I am humbled by the way the book is being received, including by the way you are receiving it. Of course, anybody who does any work in show business, or I guess any kind of work at all, wants to know that his work is being well received. This is going way over the top, and happily so. Ella deserves it. Ella deserves it. I'm glad people think I've done well by her, and I'm awfully, awfully pleased how this has turned out, and I'm thrilled to be touring the country, and I'm thrilled to be singing her music. I'm a very, very happy man.
Yeah. And, also, Geoffrey, I wanted to bring up, too, I was also told that you are basically like a walking historian of music history. And so, with that being said, out of all the people you could have chosen or want to have written a book about, you chose Ella. And so, I think that really shows what an incredible woman she was too. And I think that's awesome that you chose her.
Well, you know, I like to write about people who are the best at what they do. I've written a book about Ethel Merman, who may not be a big name to young people today, but from 1930 to 1970, she was the biggest star on Broadway in musicals. I wrote about her because she was the best.
Yeah.
I've written a book that's going to come out again next year, revised, about Lucille Ball's career. Lucille Ball was the best at what she did on television. Ella is the best at what she did. There is a wonderful little story told by Andre Previn, who was both a jazz pianist and a classical pianist and a musical arranger and an award winner himself. And he said, there is this game that musicians play backstage before a show goes on to kill time. Who's your favorite pianist? Who's your favorite bass player? Who's your favorite trumpeter? And people discuss. He said, but if it comes to who's your favorite singer, the game cannot even continue for 1 second more unless the next phrase is, you mean besides Ella? Because musicians all felt she was the best.
Yeah.
So there's Ella and there's everybody else.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say, too, the Lucy book, I'm a huge Lucille Ball fan, and that was a huge book, and you have quite the resume yourself. I mean, you've done so much, and you're also a stand-up comic, which I think is why you're so funny. I mean, you're making me laugh quite a bit. So I want to talk a little bit about your personal career as well, because you have a huge resume behind you, and you're a man of many different talents. So why don't you talk a little bit about your personal career as well?
Oh, good heavens. Talking about me is my favorite subject.
Perfect.
Let's narrow this down a little bit. I know I sound like I'm only 25, but I'm not. I've had a very long career. I got started in show business, professional show business, at the age of 15. And I only waited that long because my parents wouldn't let me before that. I was talent scouted as an 8-year-old, and my parents turned people down. So I've been at this. I've been literally and figuratively singing for my supper for a very long time. And I love it. I have loved every moment of it. When I talk to young people, and I do talk to young people, I mentor young people in show business. And the first thing that grabs me, or sometimes doesn't grab me, is, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I don't mean 8-year-olds, I mean 25-year-olds. Right. I've known what I've wanted to do since I was 2 years old. There has never been any question in my mind where I was going to be as an adult. I didn't know that I would be emancipated at 15 and living on my own, but at 15, legally, they're going to say, well, you're a grown man now, you're on your own. I didn't know that would happen. And as long as we're being honest, because I'm always honest, because I have some fans out there too, not like Ella, but I have to be honest. There was a period in my 20s where I had a problem with alcohol and drugs. And it slowed my career down to a crawl because I had no motivation. I am a very ambitious man. And I've always felt that as long as I do the hard work, something good is going to come out of it. But when I really got heavily, obviously I'm saying I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. You stop doing the footwork, your career goes away. So just after I turned 30, I had to make a decision, are you going to live or are you going to die? And I decided to live, and I got help, which means this coming April 1st, I will be clean and sober 29 years.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I really had two careers, the career before the drinking and drugs and the career after. I did 2 off-Broadway shows. I worked at the Playboy Club. I made my first film. I did dinner theater, and I toured with Summer Stock all before I was 17.
Wow. Wow.
I've been very lucky. I've worked very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed, which is why I'm a contented man. I am not the huge superstar other people are, but I have made a living and a life in show business. And I just love show business. I love it. And I hope whether you're seeing me make you laugh, and you made my evening when you told me I made you laugh. Whether I'm making people laugh, or I'm singing a song that makes them happy, or I'm writing something they enjoy reading. I've had radio shows of my own. We did a count just to like, okay, how big the rock that we threw into the lake, how big are the waves going out from that rock? I think something like 15 or 20 million people have been exposed to my work through the years.
Wow.
And that's, again, that's not superstardom, but that's a lot of folks who have become aware that I exist. I'm so pleased. And, you're free to ask me questions about any area, because like you said, I am a jazz singer. I've been a Broadway person. I am a writer. I'm a singer. I'm a comedian. I'm a producer. I'm a lecturer. Each area is something different. Each area has stories. So why don't you tell me what your interests are, Corey, and then we can talk about those.
Oh, oh goodness. I have a lot of I'm kind of into acting myself personally, and obviously the show. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of always been, I love show business, and I've always been very, very passionate about myself, so I can really relate to you, because it's a lot of work, and it's very difficult. But it's all worth it, and I really do love it.
Well, you're very young to have your own talk show, so that says something about you right away, that you're an ambitious young woman, and you must know what you want, or we wouldn't be talking.
Yeah.
My publicist wouldn't have been aware that you exist, other than you must be good at what you do.
Well, I've been very blessed, and it's a lot of work, but I've been very blessed, and I my true goal is to help people, and however it could possibly come, and I would like to do that through show business, and that's what I've been trying to do, and I've been very blessed and lucky with it.
Good. You keep it up. For those of you out there listening, there are the myths and the stories about show business. The reality of show business is really and truly a lot of hard work. There is some glamour. We do get to go to award shows. We do get to put on tuxedos and gowns and wear jewelry and put on makeup. And I get to go on Corey Taylor Talks and have a good time. But there's one or two extra things that people don't really get to talk about. One is that we get to meet some of the most talented, intelligent, and interesting people in the world because of what we do. We get to hear about things that the average person never even gets to hear about. And we do get to taste the good food, and we do get to travel more than the usual person does. These are the perks of our hard work. But I think people in show business who are in it for the long haul work just as hard as anybody else does. There is a myth, I think. I've had people not in the business, and I have friends who are not in show business. We call them civilians, people who are not in the business. And, well, you only worked 3 hours today. Well, no, I was only on the air 3 hours today. I worked 14 hours today. They don't see that. Oh, you're only on, you're doing a half-hour sitcom. You're only on for 6 minutes of the sitcom. How much work was that? Well, that was about 70 hours of my week to get that 6 minutes out.
Yeah.
They don't realize how hard this is. Even talking with Corey Taylor today, I had to prepare myself. I had to make sure that I had energy, that my voice sounds good on the radio, that my mind is clear so that no matter what Corey asks me, I have an answer. And that I come across. See, I just did it. I come across clearly. I don't trip over my tongue. This is work.
Yeah.
It's fun. I'm having fun with Corey Kids. Don't get me wrong. But it is work, and it's work for Corey, too. The only person this is not supposed to be work for is you guys out there listening to us. For you, it's supposed to be just lots of fun and entertainment. That's our goal, to make you laugh, to entertain you, to maybe teach us something you didn't know, or share some information you find interesting. That's what our work is. And we love doing it, which is why we love when you love doing it. But we are working.
Yeah. Definitely. And, you know, I have to ask, you have, like you just said, an amazing, amazing career. And I'm sure you have a bazillion incredible stories. But out of every one of your stories, do you have one that really sticks out to you, or one really interesting or unique story?
Well, I'm going to give you the one that comes off the top of my head.
Okay, perfect.
Because there are hundreds. Although we have plenty of time, I could talk. You may have all noticed, folks out there in Internet Radio land, that I could probably just talk nonstop for a few hours if I felt like it. Maybe that's the ego of a performer. I hope it's my talent. I hope I'm saying interesting things.
Oh, you are.
But
sure.
I will, thank you, dear, and so are you. I will tell one story because it's a first story. When you work in show business, or at least used to, you had to belong to one union or another. If you're working on stage, you had to belong to Actors Equity. And Actors Equity is like the Screen Actors Guild, but for the stage. And there were rules about how you could get into the union, and it's the old conundrum. You have to get a job to be in the union, but you have to be in the union to get a job. And I literally went to an audition, and the last hour of the day, according to union rules, they have to interview people not in the union, but who might be right for a part. And I went to one of those and shook a hand, and I had maybe 15 seconds with the person who was doing casting. And that was it. And I went home and got a call. Hey, Jeff, somebody in our cast got ill. If we message you a script, can you memorize it overnight? And I was in New York City. Be at this address, which was about 2 hours away from where I lived, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and be ready to perform tomorrow afternoon with no rehearsal. And being 17 at the time, I said, you bet. And I stayed up all night long with percolated coffee on the stovetop, just guzzling coffee and memorizing lines. And the very first place we went to was a theater in the round. That means the stage is in the center of the building, and the audience is completely around you. And there were aisles going up for people to get in and out. And I had scripts stashed in every aisle that I could look at to make sure I didn't flub anything. Because I was playing two different parts. I was playing a comedy character and the lead. And we got through it, and I, mopped the sweat off my brow and said, yes, I made it through. And we get in the car to go to the next theater, and the producer hands me additional lines. And I said, what's this for? Oh, this is the archery scene. We couldn't do it in the round because we hurt somebody. You're a trained actor. Of course, you know how to use a bow and arrow. The only thing I knew about a bow and arrow was the Green Arrow comic book. I had never held a bow and arrow in my hands. So we get to the next place, and I go outside, and I try to use it, and I try to use it, and I just can't make that darn thing do anything. And I said, you know what? The stage is magic. I will go out there, and magically, the arrow will go from my bow to where it's supposed to go. We go through the whole show, and of course, we haven't rehearsed this either. And we get to the part in the play where I'm doing this, and it's a children's theater show. So it's an afternoon show for kids. And it's packed. There's like 800 children there with their parents. And I say my lines, and I close my eyes, and I let it go, and the bow stayed in my hand. I'm sorry, the arrow stayed in my hand. The bow went flying off into the wings. So I'm standing there with this dumb arrow in my hand. The kids are screaming at the slapstick of it. The parents immediately see what happened to me. They're hysterical because they know that I'm caught on stage. Not one thing can happen unless that arrow leaves my hand and hits the target. That's the whole point of the play. We're doing Robin Hood. So one of the actors retrieves the arrow from backstage, and ho, 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 kind stranger, that was a funny jest. now do it right. And under his breath, he tells me how to do it. And I let go, and the arrow hit the target they were holding off stage.
Wow.
The curtain comes down, but like the kids and the parents, I stopped the show dead. Screaming, yelling, applauding, standing ovation.
Wow.
So I'm assuming that I might get, a pat on the back for this. The producer comes backstage, screaming and hollering, yelling words I will not use on the air. I don't care whether it's internet or not. Calling me all sorts of names.
Wow.
Calling my parentage into, and my sexuality, all kinds of words we don't use, she was using against me.
Wow.
Until she came right up to my face, and she said in a whisper, "Can you do that again?" And I could, so every show I made the bow fly off stage and held the arrow. And we stopped the show every time. That's my start in not professional show business, but being a union member show person. And how can you not think of that if you're asking me for a funny story?
No, that's a fantastic story. Actually, that's incredible, and that shows right there. I mean, you're very you must be very, very talented to stay on your feet and stuff, because improv is a very difficult skill, and especially when you're not expecting something quite like that to happen, but to still roll with it and then kill the whole performance. I mean, that just shows how talented you are, truly.
Well, thank you. Oh, and I had people who helped. Talent alone doesn't necessarily guarantee success.
Of course.
And I think you'll hear a lot of people in show business who have been successful will say this. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of very talented people out there who will never make it in show business. Either they're in the wrong place, they don't have the gumption, they don't have the ambition, there is something emotionally holding them back. I always wanted this so badly, but also I was lucky enough to be aware that I had to surround myself with people who were more experienced than I, more talented than I, smarter than I, that I could learn from. And I allowed myself to be a sponge. So when I had an opportunity to do improv on stage, I did it. When I had an opportunity to do children's theater, I did it. I did readers' theater, where you read out loud from a script, theater in the round, theater in the three-quarters, theater in front of an audience, theater in front of a camera, movies, television, radio. And after a while, one develops a confidence, not an arrogance, but a confidence that, you know what, no matter what happens, I have enough experience that I can always land on my feet. Yeah. And let's bring this back to Ella, because Ella was a genius at musical improvisation. That's part of what made her a legend. Yeah. And the reason she could do that was 2 shows a night, 6 days a week, 42 weeks a year, year in, year out. You're bound to make a mistake. You're bound to try something new. You're bound to hear a musician do something. You go, ooh, I could do what that trumpeter does with my song. Let me try that. And you develop a confidence that, you know what, even if I make a mistake, I'll use it to my positive betterment. Yeah. And Ella won a Grammy for that. Have you ever heard that story?
No, I haven't.
Ella, by 1960, was well on her way to becoming a legend. And I know kids out there, this is a long time ago. Ella was probably about 43 years old when we're talking about this. Still a young woman. Yeah. And she'd already won Grammy Awards. So this is not her first time to the rodeo. But she was appearing in Berlin in front of 10,000 people. And I had to give you a teeny-weeny backstory. I'll make it as brief as possible because I want to do as much as we can with this. There had been a musical in Berlin during Hitler's regime of Nazi Germany about a slasher, a man who took knives and slashed people. And there was this lugubrious, funereal, very slow, very sad, monotonal song about him. And unfortunately, the composers of this show were Jewish and had to flee Nazi Germany to America. When they came to America, they opened the same show on Broadway with English lyrics, and that show became a hit, and the song was performed exactly the same way. Many years later, there was a rock and roll pop singer named Bobby Darin, and whether this was his idea or his producer's idea, they took the song, sped it up very quickly and made it a sort of finger-snapping, hip, slick, hipsters kind of song. And it got to number 1 on the box office.
Wow.
Then a man named Louis Armstrong, who was the king of jazz, he heard it, recorded it, sang it his own way, and used his jazz trumpet, and he was number 1 in the box office with the same song in the same year. So now we're back in 1960. It's a few months later, and Ella's manager, Norman Granz, comes backstage and says, Ella, I want you to go out and sing Mac the Knife. And Ella, who always followed Norman's advice, said, no, I don't want to sing Mac the Knife. I don't like the song. I don't know what it means. I don't know all the words. I haven't rehearsed. Why are you doing this? And her pianist, Paul Smith, is sitting there listening to this. He says, Ella, here's what we'll do. We'll do this little vamp, da-dum, da-dum, dum, 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 and you sing it. Just do what you want with it. And Norman said, Ella, we're in Germany. They don't speak English. They won't know the difference, but they'll recognize the tune. It's a big hit song. So she went out there, and Paul did his little vamp, and Ella even says, we've never heard a girl sing it. I don't think we know all the lyrics, but here we go. And she gets through about, 3 or 4 stanzas of this song and just has no idea where she is. Now, she could have done lots of things. She could have stopped the song. She could have giggled. She could have scat sung her way through it. What she did in front of 10,000 people was make up a new song on the spot. All of the lyrics fit the meter of the song. The lyrics all made sense, and they rhymed in exactly the places they should rhyme in a song, all off the top of her head.
Wow.
What became of that? A Grammy for Best Song of the Year, a Grammy for Best Album of the Year, and Mac the Knife became her second theme song after her original first big hit, A Tisket a Tasket. That's the night Ella Fitzgerald really became a legend. The audience went crazy because Norman Granz was wrong. They did speak English. They knew exactly what she had accomplished. And they gave her so much love, so much energy, that she followed Mac the Knife with a scat song that she was doing called How High the Moon. And when I say scat, for those of you who don't understand what that means, it's when you don't sing the words, you bebop. Like that. 7.5 minutes of that. 2 minutes of it was just a drum hitting a cymbal behind her with no musical accompaniment. Those 2 songs, Mac the Knife and How High the Moon, done back-to-back that night in February of 1960 in Berlin, is the finest jazz vocal ever done anywhere and probably ever will be done anywhere.
Oh.
That's why Ella Fitzgerald is a legend.
Definitely. And, we're actually, which I can't believe, we're already getting towards the end of our show, but I did have to ask, what's your favorite Ella song that you sing, and can you sing like a couple bars for us?
Oh, good heavens. Well, you know what? She recorded so many hundreds of songs.
Yeah.
It's hard to give you, like, one. There's a ballad I love and an up-tempo song I love. So I can narrow it down to 2. The up-tempo song is How High the Moon, and the ballad is a Paul Williams song that she heard in the 1970s and began singing, and it's called Ordinary Fool, and the only other person who ever recorded it beside Ella was Karen Carpenter. So I'm going to let Corey Taylor tell me, do you want a little bit of the up-tempo or a little bit of the ballad?
Ooh, I don't know, whichever. Let's do up-tempo. Let's just do up-tempo. I don't know.
Okay. How high the moon is name of the song. We're singing How High the Moon. Though the words may be wrong, I'm singing this 'cause Ella loved this. So I'm singing this just for her. How high the moon does it touch the stars? How high the moon does it reach up to Mars? Though the words may be wrong to this song, we estimate how high is the moon. And then there's 6 minutes of scatting after that. But
wow.
For that, you have to come in person to one of my live
Perfect.
shows and see me do it.
That was awesome. That was really, really awesome.
Hard to do with no musical background. I pulled it out of the air. I hope I was in tune.
Oh, no, you were perfect. You were perfect.
I have never, Corey, you're the only person who has ever gotten me to sing on the radio before. You're the only one.
Well, then I feel very special. I feel very special. And then I have one last question, and then
Sure.
we'll have to wrap it up, which I am very sad about. But if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be? And I have a feeling it'd be Ella, but I mean, you might surprise us. So who would it be?
I have to surprise you because although it is a wonderful question, I can't pretend like I haven't been asked the question before. And this may reveal a little bit about me personally, since you asked earlier. I didn't have the greatest childhood. My parents were mentally ill, and there's a lot to be said about that some other time when you're interviewing me just about me. But my mother's parents were two of the most loving, nurturing. They believed in me. My grandmother knew almost from the time I did that I'd end up in show business. They never cared how I lived my life as long as I was a good man and as long as I was being ambitious and living up to my potential. They're both long past, and if I could choose anyone, I would love to have dinner with my grandparents again.
That's
because whatever I am today, I believe in God, and God gave me the talent. But whatever I am as far as the nurture part, the nature part, brains, talent, my magnificent good looks, all of these things I was born with. I didn't do anything to earn them. What I've done with them is the nurture part. And whoever I am today, whatever I've accomplished, you can thank my grandparents because on paper I probably should have become a heroin addict and died a long time ago. But for the nurturing they gave me, I'm able to be on the air with you today and spread joy and happiness because that's exactly what I feel in my heart. So I would love to do dinner with them one more time while I'm still alive. After I'm gone, I'm sure I'll have lots of opportunities.
No, that is really awesome. I love that answer. I think that's the sweetest answer. So I love that one. But we're done with the show, which is crazy. So why don't you go over everything? Where can people follow you personally and everything you have coming up? Where can people get the book, the deluxe version? I mean, just go over everything because I really want everyone to go and check everything out.
Well, I couldn't have asked you to do that better if I were paying you. Thank you so much. My name is Geoffrey Mark, GeoffreyMark. Please friend me on Facebook, and you'll be able to find out all the places I am appearing, and you can buy the book through Facebook. If you don't want to go on Facebook, you can go to Amazon.com, and the book, both versions of the book, including very soon a Kindle version, electronic version of the book will be available. You can go to the website of my publisher, which is ultimatesymbol.com, and you can buy the book there. I'm going to be doing book signings and singing shows in Palm Springs, Los Angeles, New York City, Tarrytown, Baltimore, Washington, and other cities yet to be named. And I will always be promoting these things on Facebook and on Twitter so you can find out where I'm going to be. Almost all of my shows are for the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, and you can find them online and donate to them, and they'll also let you know where I'll be appearing. Go buy the book. If you like to read, if you're interested in show business history, the history of Ella, the history of jazz, because she is the history of jazz. Absolutely. There's almost nobody who's famous from her era that is not discussed in the book. Frank Sinatra, her friendship with Marilyn Monroe, we haven't even gotten into that yet. Mm-hmm. We're talking about legends because she's a legend. If you like legends, go get this book, and I look forward to autographing all of your books for you personally.
Well, that is awesome, Geoffrey. Thank you so much for being on. It was truly an honor. I'd love to have you on again sometime because it was really amazing.
I'll make a deal with you, Corey. I'm starting my tour at the end of April. Have me on again then, and we can talk about all the specific dates of where I'll be, and I'll sing for you again.
Perfect.
I'll do a ballad next time.
I cannot wait. It'll be awesome. Well, thank you so much, Geoffrey. I really, really appreciate. Thank you for calling in and taking your time. So I really, really appreciate it, and everything you're doing is phenomenal. So keep on doing it.
You too, Corey. I think Corey Taylor is phenomenal. All you fans out there in the worldwide fandom, you keep listening to Corey and you buy my book. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly what I was just going to say. Everyone, please go support him and the book and the foundation. I mean, everything, because, I mean, as you can tell, clearly, it is just fantastic, and it is well worth it. So please go support everything. And thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, never give up, always believe, and you'll achieve. Thank you, and God bless.